Hello, I think we're live. Um, okay, once again, I just need to check something so that I can read the comments. Bear with me for a moment, please. Let's have a look. Where is the chat window? Okay, if you are joining me, please do say hello. Yeah, say hello, tell me your name, tell me where you're from, and I'm just having a look so that I can see comments. Okay. Oh, great. Good. Giuseppe is here. I think he was here. You were here yesterday, right? Or I recognize your name from Facebook. Hashim is here again. Hello. Thank you for joining me again. Today's live class is going to be all about how to improve your listening and your speaking skills. So this is the big one, really. This is what so many learners want to, I get messages every day asking me, Anya, how can I improve my speaking? How can I speak like a native speaker? How do I improve my listening skills? So it's a really big topic and it's important. So let's start. I'm going to start today by, of course, they are interconnected. Listening and speaking are connected. You can't really have a conversation. You can't have a real conversation with someone unless you can both speak and tell them what you want to say, but also listen to what they're saying and understand it. So they're two very important skills. I'm going to start today by talking about listening. Just before I do, I'm just going to do one quick thing. I'm just going to copy the link to this live video and put it on my Facebook page so that more people can come and join easily by getting the link. Just one moment, please. Okay, I'm just looking at the comments now. Okay, Kian is here again, Flavia is here again, Kareem, hello from Egypt, Tarek, Abdo, hello, Ida and Donny D. Hi, thanks you guys for joining me. Donny D, I recognized your name from Instagram. All right, so just 1 second while I copy and paste the link for this live class into my Facebook page for the live class. Okay, so I think that's worked now. Perfect. All right, so let's continue. All right, so listening. Let's start with listening skills. So normally, listening is thought of as a kind of passive skill. If we think about the 4 skills in English, we have listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And some of them are more thought of as being active skills, skills where you actually have to be active and really, really focus, really concentrate. And some are thought to be more passive, where you just kind of take it easy a little bit. You're not so active with it. Often people think of listening as being passive, speaking as being active, reading as being passive, and writing as being active. Because you have to actually, when you're doing active skills, you have to think of that language yourself. It has to come from you. When you're reading something or when you're just listening, you're taking in that information. So normally listening is thought of as being passive, but there is a way to make it an active skill. And I do recommend doing active listening rather than passive listening. What do I mean by that? I mean that when you are watching things on YouTube, when you're watching TV series, or when you're watching movies, you should be, really, to get the most benefit out of it, to improve your listening skills, you should be actively listening, like focusing on the words. It's okay if you don't understand everything when you listen to something. It really depends on your level, So if you're intermediate, you might understand about half of what the person is saying. If you're more advanced, you'll understand, 85, 95% of what the person is saying, maybe even 100. But it's important to listen, very carefully, and also to keep notes. So active listening involves listening to whatever you're listening to. It could be a TV series, could be a movie, could be a YouTube video. When you hear a word you don't know, especially if you hear similar words being said again and again, there are some words that are very high frequency. There are some words that are used very often in English language. And if you continuously hear these words and you don't know what it means, it's a good idea to look it up, to have a look on Google Translate. Something that can really help with your listening, especially if you're not an advanced learner, if you're sort of lower intermediate, or even upper intermediate, is to use subtitles. You can try both. So you can try listening to something in English with English subtitles. And when you see a word you don't recognize that you think might be useful for you and your daily life, then pause the video, look up the word, and make a note of it. It's really important, I think, to keep like a list of words that you think might come in handy, that you think might be useful. It's important to write these things down, and then also to not just to write it down and then never look at it again, but to write it down and go back and review it later. But I know it does take quite a lot of energy to actively listen to something. You might have, like, for example, a TV show that's half an hour long, 30 minutes, but you feel like you constantly, or very often, you have to pause, look at the word, listen to the word, write the word in your notebook. So it can take quite a long time, and I know it can be a little bit tiring and a little bit exhausting. But it is very helpful. It can be super helpful. But when you get tired of that, sometimes it feels a bit too much for your brain, So when you do get tired of that, then you can switch to passive listening. So then you can just watch something or listen to something and don't worry about understanding every word. Don't worry about keeping notes. Listening passively can also be helpful sometimes, because it's still, you're immersing yourself in that language. And you should, if you really want to improve your listening, you should be spending as much time as possible really trying to listen to English, trying to immerse yourself in English. So if you're, for example, if you're going to work, if you're on the train or in the car, try to listen to something in English. Even music as well. Music can be helpful with that too. I'm just going to take a quick break now from speaking to look at the comments. Let's see. And by the way, if you do have any questions about anything I'm saying, or you want to ask me a question related to listening or to speaking, please do let me know in the comments. Okay. So I hope, like, now you have a clearer idea of how to, actively take part in your listening, and remember to keep those word banks. Keep a note of the words. And like I did say before, but it's important to review them. So I would go back to those words like the next day. So let's say, for example, okay, let's give you a concrete example. You're watching a TV show and you've heard a few phrases. Yeah, not just individual words sometimes, but whole phrases that you think is something that you might say to someone, or something that a phrase that you can use in your daily conversation with people. You hear a phrase, you make a note of it. It's important to come back and look at it, a couple of days later, maybe 2 days later, come back again and look at it a few days after that. If you can, try to, if you have the opportunity to speak with someone, try and use those things that you learned in conversation with someone. That's really useful. But I think the main thing is the repetition is really important. It's really important to repeat what you've learned. Again, if you hear something in a TV series, pause it and try to say it. If you hear a phrase that sounds like something you might want to say in English, pause the video. You can even rewind. You can go back and try to copy the speaker. And in a way, that's practicing both your listening and your speaking skills at the same time. I think repetition is really important, especially because some learners think it's okay, they can just take a back seat. They can just be passive in their learning. But if you want to really master a language, you must be learning actively. And like I was saying about the repetition, some learners think that just because they learned something a long time ago, they think they'll continue to remember it forever. But it doesn't work like that, because people obviously forget things. Everybody forgets things sometimes. So it's really important to go back to the stuff, even stuff that you think you know, and repeat. Because for example, I have some advanced learners, and they make some basic mistakes sometimes with things like pronouns, like the words he, she, and it. They can speak about, art and science and culture, but they make some really basic mistakes, perhaps because they forget to review that vocabulary. So reviewing the vocabulary that you learn while you're listening, while you're speaking, is really important. Okay, I'm just going to have a quick look at the comments before we continue. Okay, Flavia, she says, that's what I do watching Peep Show with English subtitles because it's a comedy. Yeah, good. I love Peep Show. Peep Show is actually one of my favorite TV series. It's really funny. There's a lot of cultural references in that show, but I'm glad to hear that you're watching it. I think that's great, and I would recommend that show to people. It's not everybody's kind of humor, I think, but it's definitely my kind of humor, and I love it. All right. Okay, Giuseppe says, I agree with you, but sometimes listening to music is like frustrating because they use slang words. That's true. And that's why I think learning how to speak properly and correctly, you're probably not going to get that so much from music. You're going to get that more from things like TV series and stuff, and listening to native speakers actually talking in real life. But music is enjoyable to listen to, and it's not going to hurt, but I wouldn't use music to seriously study grammar, or if you're preparing for an interview, I wouldn't start listening to pop music as a way to prepare for it, but it's fun to listen to. So surround yourself with things that you enjoy. Find some music in English that you enjoy listening to, and listen to it a lot. Create a playlist on YouTube full of English music that you can listen to again and again. Okay, Offman says, could you please explain to us what's the difference between past perfect and past perfect continuous? I'm just focusing today not on grammar, but on listening and speaking skills, Offman. But tomorrow, I will be talking about past tenses. So in my live video tomorrow, I'll be talking about past tenses. Please join me at the same time, 1 p.m. CET time, for a live class about that. All right. Okay, and Kareem says, I feel my listening is good, but the speaking is the problem. How can I manage to improve it? Okay, I am going to come on to speaking now. All right, so yeah, I did talk a little bit about listening. Let's move on to speaking. The first thing that I want to say about speaking is that a lot of it is about your attitude. A lot of it really depends on your mindset. It really does, because what I think is the problem that many English learners have is that they are scared of making mistakes. They're scared of saying something wrong. They're scared of making a grammar mistake or forgetting a word. And it's really important to let that go, because you will make mistakes. That is certain. And that's normal, and it's fine, and you shouldn't be worried about it, but I do perfectly understand the feeling. I'm learning German. I would say like low, it's sort of intermediate level in German. But when I try and and my listening is great. My listening in German is very, very good. But when I try to speak German, I feel like an idiot. I'll be honest. I feel like an idiot. So because I can hear myself making grammar mistakes, and I forget so many words, or I realize that I actually don't even know the words that I want to use, and I feel stupid. So I understand how you guys might feel when you're trying to speak English. But it's important to try and remind yourself, and I know it's hard because I'm in the same position myself in learning German. It's really important to remind yourself that you're not an idiot. You know, you're an intelligent person, and you're just learning a language. And to learn a language, it's a long and difficult process. You know, it can be, and you will make mistakes. That's absolutely going to happen. So you have to accept that fact that you will make mistakes. But that's, you know, it's good, because if you don't make mistakes, you're not going to learn anything. If you didn't make mistakes, you would be speaking English perfectly, but you're still a learner. So you have to allow yourself time and room, and don't put too much pressure on yourself to speak perfectly, because you won't at first. But by being brave, you need courage, really. You need to be brave and speak anyway, knowing that you will make mistakes, and try not to worry about it. So that's the first thing. It's about mindset, your attitude, and your confidence. And that's the biggest thing. Yeah, like I said, it's really, it's tough, it's hard, and I know, but it's something that you have to try and bear in mind. Keep that in mind, that you have to be brave and try to speak whenever you can. I'm just going to go back to the comments before I continue. All right. Okay. Walid says he has a problem with fast speaking. Yeah, when people speak fast, and I am guilty of this because I do sometimes speak pretty fast, it can be difficult to understand people. My recommendation for that is to take your time, you know, especially if you are watching like a TV series or a YouTube video. Turn on the subtitles. If there are subtitles, go back and listen to it again. If you're speaking to a real person, ask them to slow down a little bit. That could also help. Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay, that's an interesting comment from Prizemek X. He says, "Dear viewers, learning English is a very hard job, and don't expect from that nice teacher any golden key that will solve for you that question." It's kind of a good point, because some learners expect me to be able to give you, like, wave a magic wand and say, okay, in 1 week you can be fluent in English. But it doesn't work like that. Learning a language it requires time, it does require patience, and it's about how much work you put into it. But you know, you guys are doing really well already, because you're here watching this video. So that already shows that you are motivated. If you're here, if you're watching this video and you're listening to me, it means that you are probably, you know, already very motivated to improve your English. So you should feel very proud of yourselves and happy about that. Because like I said earlier, a lot of learners can be very passive. They just expect to be able to learn English without really putting any effort in. But you guys, just by being here and watching me speaking, you're already helping yourself. You're definitely improving your listening skills already. So well done. Okay, going back to the comments before I continue. Dialogue Mos Bien asks, do I speak Spanish? No, I don't. I know like a few words in Spanish. I know how to say hola and bien, I think. All right. Kian Mac asks about some pronunciation question. I'm not doing pronunciation. I'm just giving general listening and speaking tips for now. But in the future, I will do more pronunciation classes. Donny D asks me to say something in German. Alright. Hallo, ich spreche Deutsch. Ich kann nur ein bisschen Deutsch sprechen, aber ich versuche es zu verbessern. Which means I can speak German, I can speak a little German, and I'm trying to improve it. All right. Oh, Flavia, that looks like a good comment. I'm just going to read this for you as well. So Flavia says, I used to talking to myself in front of the mirror or recording me to watch after, because sometimes it's difficult to find a nice person to talk to. People can be boring or just want to flirt. Okay, that's a good point. Okay, so this is actually something, this is something that I was going to mention as well. So that Flavia's comment leads nicely into what I wanted to talk about regarding speaking. If you can't find a real person to speak to, and I know it can sometimes be difficult, a lot of learners want to speak with native speakers. And of course, if you can find a native speaker to speak with, that's great. But if you can't, then anybody else learning English, it's good to practice with them too. They don't have to be a native speaker for you to improve your English speaking. If you can find a speaking partner to practice with, if it's another learner or an English speaker, that's all going to be good practice for you. But if you can't find another person, talk to yourself. This is what I do again with my German. Because when you are going about your day, when you're doing your daily activities, you're kind of already talking to yourself in your head, aren't you? I hope I'm not the only person who does that. I'm pretty sure everybody does it, right? You're thinking about things while you're cooking. Maybe you're thinking about what to do later, or you're thinking about what to eat for lunch, or you're thinking about I don't know, a conversation you had with someone last night. So my advice is to speak to yourself in English, especially, so if there are people around, then probably better to do it inside your head, to start thinking to yourself in English as much as possible, as much as you can. I know it's tricky, can be a little bit difficult, especially at first. So if you've never done that before, if you've never tried to think in your mind in English, it might seem strange or difficult at first, but keep trying, keep doing it, keep at it. Don't give up, because it will get easier and easier. So do that. And but if you're lucky enough to kind of have some privacy, then speak out loud, because then you're making the sounds. And I've been doing this myself, again, with my German learning. So for example, just like you can narrate your own life. You could say, now I'm walking into the kitchen. I'm going to look in the fridge. What do I have in the fridge? I have a cucumber, I have some milk. Maybe I will make a salad. Now I'm closing the fridge. Now I'm walking over to my bedroom. So it's kind of simple stuff. You can start simple and just kind of tell yourself what you're doing in English. This is a really good way to practice your speaking, and you will notice, this will help you notice the gaps in your knowledge. If, for example, you want, let me think of an example. If you want to, I don't know, if you're looking, like, let's say for the fridge, you're looking in your fridge and you're telling yourself, okay, so I've got some vegetables, I've got some other kind of food, and you see some item that you don't know the name of, then you could remember it, go on Google Translate, look it up, and then you will know the word for it. So speaking to yourself, narrating your own life in English, helps you understand where the gaps in your knowledge are. So I definitely recommend that. And as Flavia said, she used to talk to herself in the mirror, or record yourself. That's another really good way to do it. Record yourself speaking. And I've given this tip before. Use Google Translate to practice your speaking and pronunciation. So let me show you what I mean. I'll just give you a very quick demonstration. I think I've talked about this tip before on Facebook, but I'm just going to show you again. If I say, for example, hello, can you understand me? Okay, so here, see, I just spoke into my phone and it wrote what I said. So that's a very useful tip, again, for practicing your pronunciation. And you can do that. But for me, for example, I keep Google Translate open on my laptop all the time, because every time I see a word that I don't know, I use Google Translate. And Google Translate isn't always 100% accurate. So it does sometimes make mistakes, but it's getting better and better. And it is a good tool to use. Practice, instead of writing the word into Google Translate, speak it. Speak it so you can practice your speaking and pronunciation. And it's better when it's not just one word, but a whole phrase. Try, for example, you're listening to a TV series. You hear them saying something that sounds like a common phrase that you might use in your daily life. Pause the video, go to Google Translate, repeat it. Repeat it into Google Translate to check that you can say it correctly. And if you can, Google Translate should write what you said in English, hopefully, if your pronunciation is good. Okay, I'm just going to take a quick break again to look at some comments. All right. Okay, Ahmed Jarrad says we have to think about everything in English as much as we can. Yes, I agree. Yeah, as much as you can. Try to make it a habit. The important thing, I think, is to make it a habit. So at first, it will be difficult, and you'll keep in your mind, when you're trying to think in English, you will keep switching back to your native language. But when you notice yourself switching back to your native language, say, no, I need to practice my English, so I'm going to think in English now. So remember to continuously try and do that. Switch back to thinking in English. Okay. All right. Dialogue Mos Bien says you're my great motivation. Thank you. I'm very glad. I'm happy to motivate you guys. That's what I'm here for. Okay. All right. Some people want to hear me speaking Russian. I'm getting some Spanish lessons here from Eda Posada. All right. Okay. All right, I'm going to answer this question quickly. So I saw a question about reading earlier, but again, today I want to stay focused on listening and speaking. But I am going to just answer this quick question about what books I recommend to read in English. It depends on your level, and it depends what you like. You know, I do get asked a lot for recommendations for TV series, for movies, for book recommendations. And it's difficult because what I like might not be what you like. I mean, if I were you, I would try out lots of different things until you find something that you like and that you enjoy, you know? I'm just going to close my window, sorry. Okay. Because everybody has different interests and abilities as well. So for example, if you're a beginner, I would recommend kids' books or comic books, something that uses language that's not too difficult. If you're more advanced, I would recommend, sort of, I don't know, crime novels or to be honest, I don't read enough. I need to read more. So I don't have any specific books to recommend to you right now. But just try out a few different books, see what you like. Start reading a book. If it's not for you, don't worry about it. Don't feel like you have to. You should not feel ever really like you have to watch something or you have to read something because it will help you improve your English. Because there's so many things out there, you've got to find something that you like. The important thing with both of these things, speaking and listening skills, and learning English in general, actually, is to make it fun. to make it something enjoyable. You don't want it to feel like hard work. But if you find something that you love in the language you're trying to learn, in English, then it will make it a pleasure, and that's important. I've just noticed that I'm wearing my shirt inside out. I'm just going to turn it the right way around. How embarrassing! Oh my god. Okay. All right. Here we go. Anyway, yeah, that's right now. Okay. All right. Just going to have a look. Okay. So Dialogue Most Bien says, do you like the TV series Friends? Yes, I love Friends. I used to watch Friends all the time in English. It was always on TV when I was growing up, and I really like it. It's funny. And now I'm using Friends. I'm watching Friends on Netflix, but not with English audio, but with German audio, because I'm learning German, and it's great. It's really helpful because I already saw them in English. So I already understand what's going to happen. I understand the context. And now switching to German, it helps me understand better. So that's another good thing that you can do. You can watch something in your native language. Watch something in your native language, and then maybe a few days later or 1 week later, go back and rewatch it in English. Because you'll probably remember all the stuff that happens. You'll understand the context. You will already be prepared for the stuff you're going to watch. But this time it's the same, but it will be in English. So that's a really good way to help improve your listening too. Okay, just going to go back to the comments again. Flavia says a book that she doesn't recommend is Mrs. Dalloway because it has difficult writing and she couldn't read it. Yeah, to be honest, actually, yeah, I would say I don't really recommend, unless you're a very advanced learner, I don't really recommend books that are more than 40 or 50 years old, really, because the language they use is difficult and it's different. It's not really how people speak anymore. English has evolved a lot. So if you're trying to learn new vocabulary from books, then I would stick with more modern books. Unless of course you're upper intermediate or you're advanced, or if you're very interested in literature, then of course go read books that are 100 years old, like the classics. Or read Shakespeare, read Charles Dickens if you really are interested, but it's not going to help you speaking English with a native speaker, because nobody talks like Shakespeare anymore. Nobody talks like Charles Dickens anymore. The way that they wrote is not how English is used now. So it's not particularly helpful in terms of gaining new vocabulary for real life speaking. If you're going to try to learn vocabulary from books or articles, I would recommend sticking with something more modern. Okay. Okay. Let's just go back to the comments. Okay, Kareem asks, is there any way to practice my speaking on any app or something? Or stories with someone who's speaking this way we can read? Okay. Okay, interesting. So I'm just reading a few comments now. Okay, I'm just going to do these in order because, okay, just one thing. So somebody asked if there's an app or website that I can recommend. I can and I will, but first I'm going to answer another question from Walid. Walid asks how to keep vocabulary. So how to remember vocabulary. I think the best way to remember vocabulary is to, you have to write it down. You definitely should be writing it down, or at least typing it up on your computer. One really good way, especially if you're a visual learner, if you learn through seeing, then a great way is mind maps. I'll show you what I mean. I started making this yesterday to kind of give you an example. Didn't have time to finish it, sorry. But okay, so this is an example of the start of a mind map. So you pick a vocabulary topic, for example, the home, and then you draw lots of colorful branches spreading across the page. This is not finished. And draw little pictures, make it look nice. So you can see we're learning about the home. So here, if I had finished it, I would have put the bedroom, the living room, the kitchen, the bathroom, and added all vocabulary about the home. So if you see the bedroom, we've got the bed, all the things that go on a bed, pillow, duvet, blankets, bed sheets. Of course, sleep is what we do in a bed. Got wardrobe, that's the UK word, closet, US word, because we keep clothes in a wardrobe, and we hang our clothes up in the wardrobe. So making mind maps like this, if you're a visual learner, that can be a really helpful way to remember new vocabulary. But as I said before, you have to repeat things. You have to go back, and it's not enough to just write it once and never look at it again. It's really important to go back and review things. Repeat, repeat, repeat. That is my motto. I tell my students that, a lot. Okay, I'm just going to look at the comments again. Oh, Leandro is here. Hello, Leanne. Okay. Okay, Othman says, I think the best way to learn English language is to download Scenario Substance, I think, and try to imitate actors or actresses of what they said. Okay, I haven't heard of this thing, Scenario Substance, but I'll look into it. It sounds interesting. It sounds like a good way to practice your speaking. Okay, Leanne says, I'd recommend an academic book, very technical, because even though it could be a hard subject, it will have a lot of transparencies. Perhaps, I don't know. It really depends on why you're reading the book that you're reading, I suppose. I think if somebody was studying English from a very academic book, if they're not a very kind of academic person, it could feel like too much, and it could be a little bit overwhelming, could be a bit boring for them. A lot of it depends on your interests, I think, and what makes you excited about learning. Okay, go back to the comments. Okay, Flavia recommends to Karim the app Speaky. I haven't heard of it. I haven't tried it, but I'll look into it after this class. I'm going to have a look. I'm just going to write that into my browser so that I remember later. Okay. So, all right. So some people are asking me questions about Germany and learning German and stuff about German culture, but I want to stick with English because it is an English lesson. So I'm going to continue. All right. So what I do have a really good recommendation for you, actually. And I only found out about it yesterday, and I'm really excited about it. I was actually, I'll be honest with you, I was up until about 4 a.m. this morning learning German using this website, and which is also an app. You can also download it on Android and on iOS. And the name of it is Closemaster, closemaster.com. Or if you just look in the App Store or whatever the Apple thing is, closemaster.com. I'll write it in the comments so you can see like this. And then I'll explain a little bit about how it works. Closemaster.com. Really, really recommend it. This is a good way to practice both your listening and your speaking. The way it works is that it shows you, there's a few options, there's a few different ways you can use it, but basically it shows you a phrase, or it plays you a phrase, so you can listen to a phrase, and then it shows it to you in text with one word missing. And when you listen to it, you have to listen out for the word and type in the missing word. Or sometimes you can do it without listening. So you can just see the text and then write the missing word. And then it will play that, it will read that sentence for you. So like the Google Voice will read that sentence for you and you should repeat it. And the thing I really like about it is that it uses kind of real phrases, phrases that people actually use in their daily life. So this is not kind of like textbook stuff. It's not boring. It's actual real life English that people use every day. And it's really a great way to practice both your listening and your speaking. So yeah, you get to hear it, type in the missing word, and then you can repeat that phrase. It's a great way to learn new vocabulary, practice your speaking, your listening, and not only that, but also your writing and your spelling. So it's kind of does everything. And what I really like about it is that it kind of makes it like a game in a way. So you earn points, you level up. The more you practice, the more points you earn. And it seems really fantastic. I only found out about it last night, but I spent many hours learning German on it. They have a free version, and the free version seemed great, but I now have the pro account, so you can upgrade. I think it's only like 60 euros for the whole year, and that unlocks lots of other features. So you get lots more grammar practice, and it just seems a really fantastic way to practice your speaking, your listening, writing, and all the skills. And it's really fun because it makes it more like a game. So I love it. But it is one thing I will say, I don't know if it's really suited for beginners so much. I would say you need to kind of be at least lower intermediate to get the benefits from it. If you are a beginner, I would recommend Duolingo.com. This one's really famous. Maybe you've heard of it before, but Duolingo.com is great as well because it has a lot of languages on it. And Closemaster as well has a lot of languages on it. So you say you're learning English and your native languages, and you've got a big long list. They've got Arabic, they've got Turkish, Italian, Portuguese, loads of languages. And I think it's the same with Duolingo. And Duolingo is good for more for beginners or lower intermediate students as a way of learning vocabulary and basic grammar structures. The reason I really but I've been using Duolingo for years, and I was starting to get a little bit bored of it, to be honest, because it was kind of the same thing over and over. But now when I discover Closemaster, I really like it because you get whole sentences that seem like real sentences, the ones you'd actually use in your daily conversation. And so it teaches you grammar like in context, you get to speak naturally, you get to listen to natural speech, and then you can repeat it to practice your speaking too. So really, I really recommend that website. You should definitely check it out. Okay, and now I'm going to go back to the comments to have a look. Ahmed, yes, Ahmed, you're right. You said the reading, it depends on what you love. And yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. You should find something that you enjoy reading about or that you enjoy hearing about and do that. Donnie D asks, what accent is better to learn, American or British? I think both. It's hard to say. I mean, I'm British, so I'm a little bit biased, because I prefer the sound of British English personally, but a lot of students say they find American English more clear and easy to understand. So, from most students, they kind of end up learning a mixture between British and American English. The differences are not huge between English and British. Of course, the accent is a bit different. And in the UK especially, you get lots of different accents. But Americans and British people speak to each other all the time with very few misunderstandings. So they understand each other perfectly. So it's good to learn both at the same time. Why not? Okay. Okay, Jamie Gomez says, for me, the best in listening is YouTube. Easy and very, very helpful. I agree. YouTube is such a great place to find useful content. There are so many really good English teachers online as well. Like English with Lucy, she's amazing. Eat, Sleep, Dream English is really good. ETJ English. There's loads of really good like English teaching YouTubers. So definitely they are worth taking a look at. Let's see. Ahmed asks, what accent do I speak? I have a British accent. I have a kind of southern British accent because I grew up near London. What language do I speak more in Berlin? I actually speak, this is the problem, I speak more English in Berlin than I do German, but I'm trying to change that. So I'm studying German a lot. I've got lots of German language partners. I've started taking German classes online as well. So I'm trying to immerse myself in German. So I'm trying to listen. I'm trying to spend a lot of time listening to German, thinking in German. That's what I'm trying to do. So that's why I'm recommending it to you, because to be honest, I have seen a real improvement in myself just in 1 week, actually. Just from starting to think in German. When I speak in German now, I actually feel more confident because I've spent some time that day already thinking in my head in German. So when I finally speak it, I feel a bit more confident about it because I've already had it in my mind that day. So I do really recommend that. I did say it earlier, I'll say it again, start thinking in English, and then that will improve your speaking. And if you are alone, if you have the privacy, speak out loud to yourself, or better yet, find a person to speak in English with. Okay, let's have a look. Just looking at comments. Okay, Leanne recommends Rosetta Stone. I have, a lot of people say Rosetta Stone is good. I don't have any experience with it, so I can't say for sure for myself. I don't know, but I know it's a very popular program and a lot of people use it. So yeah, Rosetta Stone is probably also a good recommendation. Okay. Othman asks, in your opinion, how long time should we take to master English very well? This is a question, again, I get this a lot. How long will it take me to learn English? And it's very difficult to answer that question because it depends on how much time you give to it. Depends how much time you devote to learning English. And your motivation for doing it. The best thing would be to move to an English-speaking country and always hear it around you all the time. But I know that's not possible for a lot of people. But you can still definitely, learn it yourself. It's very difficult to say how long. It really depends on the work you put in. It's a process, But yes, I mean, I have some students and they just really want to be fluent. They want to speak like a native speaker, and they think they can do it overnight like that, really quickly. But of course, it doesn't work like that. It is a process that requires time and patience. So you have to be patient with yourself, but also, it's a journey, right? This whole process of learning language is like a journey, and you should enjoy it. It's fun, You can when you discover a new word, or finally you understand how to use a particular grammar structure, and then you become more confident in using it. It feels, you're getting better, like gradually over time, and you shouldn't try to rush it too much. You should try to, relax and enjoy your language learning journey. And then, you'll see yourself making progress. I understand if you're studying for an exam, maybe that's different because maybe you do have to learn a lot in a short space of time. But if you're not preparing for an exam, then, take your time. I think the key thing is immersion. Always try to listen to things in English when you're driving to work, when you're just doing things around the house. Put on the radio, listen to a podcast, think in English. All of this will really, really help to improve your listening and your speaking skills. Okay, so let's go back to the comments for a moment. Mo Al asks, how many languages do you speak? I speak English, of course. I can speak Russian and I can speak some German, but I would not say my German is fluent. Yeah, so I can speak, let's say 3, sort of, or 2.5 languages. Okay. Good. All right. Mo Al says, have you heard of shadowing, repeating a person's speech in the same time? Yes, that's also a very good idea. I think I did mention it earlier. Yeah. So, oh no, maybe I mentioned earlier to listen to something, for example, from a YouTube video or a TV series, pause it and repeat it. But shadowing is, yeah, when you're actually speaking at the same time as the person that you're listening to. So it takes a while to develop this skill. You might need to listen to something a few times, but it's a great technique. It's a technique that works very well for language learners. So listen to something, rewind, and try to say the same thing at the same time as the speaker. And this will help you to speak, a little bit faster. And more, and it will help you to also speak more naturally. One thing that I've just thought of is that some people ask me, how do I speak faster? And I think it's not necessary, to be honest, to speak fast. I think it's all right to speak slowly, because when you speak slowly, you're often more clear. And I sometimes speak too fast. I know that. But I've had some students who speak really fast, but because they have a bit of an accent, they're speaking too fast for me to understand them. So it's actually all right to not speak too fast, to slow your speech down, because when you're speaking more slowly, you're often speaking more clearly. All right, so okay, we're nearly at the end now. We just have a few minutes left. So something, sorry, I'm just going to just thinking about what do I want to say. Oh, so okay. So my top recommendation for today is to try that website, closemaster.com. Try the website, download the app, and actually tell me what you think about it. I am interested to hear what you think about it, and if you think it's a useful tool for listening and speaking practice. So I'd love to hear your feedback if you love it as much as I love it. All right. So that's it for today. I hope you found it useful. I gave you lots of advice about listening and speaking. I think if I was going to summarize this class today, I would say the most important things are to be active in your learning. Number one, be active. So remember, don't just be passive. Don't sit back and let the English come into your ears. Be active. Listen attentively. Focus on what you're hearing. When you hear a useful word, write it down, make a note. So be active in your learning. That's number one. Number two is repeat, repeat, repeat. So repetition is important. And that's another reason I really like closemaster.com, is because after you've learnt words and phrases, one day later, you can review them. You can repeat them to see if you remember. 5 days later, you repeat them again. 10 days later, you repeat them again. So this repetition is super important. Okay. Third tip that I would want you to remember from today's class is to remember the mindset. It's all about attitude. It's about your mindset. You need to be brave. You need to have courage to be able to speak in English, and don't worry about making mistakes, because you will make mistakes, but that's fine. It doesn't mean that you're stupid. It means that you're learning a language, and that's something that not everyone does. So you should feel happy with yourself and feel try and you feel confident about using the language that you're learning. And the fourth thing is, if you can't find a person around you to speak with, speak to yourself. Out loud or in your head, try and be speaking to yourself as much as you can in English. And sometimes it gets tiring. It might make your brain feel tired and exhausted, but keep at it and you will notice an improvement in your speaking skills. All right. So just coming back one last time to the comment section. All right. Okay. Junior Faria says, I got here late. It's all right. You can, when I finish in a minute or two, you can just go back and watch it again. And I will be going live again tomorrow, same time, 1 p.m. Central European time tomorrow. And tomorrow I'll be talking a bit about some grammar. I'll be talking about past tenses in how to use different past tenses in English tomorrow. Let's see. All right, let's just have a quick look at the rest of the comments. Okay, Leanne says, I'd like to point something out, if I may. YouTube videos are great, and these Anya's classes are an awesome resource, but it's impossible to learn English only using YouTube. We all need a teacher. I mean, in some ways, I agree. The thing about having a teacher is that they can help you see your own, they can help you understand the mistakes that you're making, and they can help you to correct them. It's quite difficult otherwise to understand the kind of mistakes you're making unless you have a native speaker or a teacher to help you. So if you can, I would recommend getting a teacher. If you like, I can teach you. I will put a link to my classes in the description box after the video is finished. I offer a 20-minute trial class for just €2. So if you would like to take an individual class with me, you can do that. Okay. Donnie D says, "Замечательно," which means great in Russian. All right. Okay. Yes, and Junior Faria says, try to make friends with English speakers. Yeah, that's a good idea as well. Although, yeah, it's a good idea to try to make friends with English speakers if you can. Yeah, but I mean, the only thing I'll say about that is that I get messages in my inbox on my Facebook page for Anya Teaches English, people asking if they can be my friend. And I feel very rude saying no, but I have quite a lot of people messaging every day. So it's very difficult to spend enough time answering everyone. It's hard to find the time to answer everyone. So if that person has time to speak with you, then yeah, that's great if you find a native speaker. Okay, so yes, tomorrow, 1 p.m. tomorrow, Central European time, we'll be talking about past tenses. Please join me if you can. If you can't, then you can always go back and rewatch it later. Another thing, one last thing before I go, I forgot to mention last time, is that at the end of these 5 days of live classes, which will be on, when will that be? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On Wednesday, the 14th. So on Valentine's Day, I will be announcing a competition. And I'm going to reveal the prize of the competition. The prize of the competition is to win a free class with me, a 1-hour class with me. That will be the prize of the competition. So tune in tomorrow for more details. I'm going to reveal what the question is for the competition, or and tell you how you can enter it on the last day, on Wednesday the 14th. I'll give you more details. But the prize of the competition will be a free class with me. Okay, so thanks very much again. You guys are awesome. Thank you for watching, and hopefully I will see you tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye.